going to welcome now Jamie Kelsey-Fry, an amazing man. Please give it up for Jamie. Go to the stage.
Thanks. Oh, bloody hell, this is amazing. Okay, so, folks, that was amazing, by the way. The last speaker, the woman from Shell, was incredible. This is Matt Black, Cole Carter, who was doing that. That was pretty spooky. All right, so the third demand, everyone's now finally kind of getting their heads around it. And people say, in the long run, maybe this was the most revolutionary of the three demands, right? So it's simple. You're not going to be able to deal with the climate crisis until you start to deal with the crisis in democracy, the crisis in governance. There is nothing more ordinary than upgrading an operating system when it's out of date. And that's all that's happening. This is really, really out of date. Can you imagine if, by some miracle, we survived till 2080 and your daughter's going to school and she's in a history lesson and she opens the book that covers this bit of history, the chapter of shame. And they're looking at it and they're going, you knew that burning fossil fuels was going to wipe out life, cause catastrophe, and you kept doing it. And the kids are just going, what were you thinking of? And then you turn over, and this bit, how they made decisions in 2023. And there's a bit of film of the Houses of Parliament, and there's this big posh room with lots of objects stolen from the global south, and there's just two groups on each side braying at each other. Can you imagine how the kids will be laughing, going, what was wrong with you? Come on. And so we've started to be using people's assemblies in Extinction Rebellion right from the beginning, all right? And also we've been pushing for citizens' assemblies. It's just a shift in the way we think about how we can make decisions together. It's not rocket science, as they say, all right? What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be starting a people's assembly with you, and it will be carried on. You can carry it on online, all right? We've got techie. We're involving pol.is, P-O-L-I-S, not police, but pol.is. Okay, so it's a way where people can deliberate. And before I get you into that, I just want to share with you a really important fact and then an emotional story. Is that okay? Do you want it? Come on! All right. Okay, so which one should we do first? Let's do the fact. Let's do the fact. So, you're all going to go back to your communities. I mean, one of the things that's amazing about XR is the amazing network of communities around this country. Remember, in 2018, right, but 2019, April 2019, right, by June, Extinction Rebellion was in 73 countries. 250,000 people had signed up to get arrested with us. The government, we stopped the city, and the government had a meeting with us. All of that had happened within months, right? It's an amazing thing. And that, exactly, come on. I mean, who was there with the pink boat? Who was there with the pink boat? Yeah. Who was there with this stage? Massive Attack, and Massive Attack supported by Greta Thunberg in Marble Arch. Now, there's a gig for you, you know what I mean? Right on. Revolution! So, God, that was quite a frightening laugh, actually. So, here's the important fact. You go back to your communities. You start running people's assemblies. The thing about people's assemblies, all voices get heard equally. No voices dominate. People can be vulnerable. If you facilitate well, everybody feels welcome here. And people can be vulnerable and speak their truth. And it's only when we're all coming together around the table, all, and I mean all, then we've got a chance. And that's what this is about. But one of the things about you taking this back to your community, and I'm sorry to say this, but one of the things about it is using these ways of coming to decisions, you know, the not groupthink, what's it called? More than the sum of our parts, right? I'm sorry to say this will be a matter of survival. It's not just a lovely way for communities to listen to each other. It will be a matter of survival. There's a huge amount of collapse that's built in. We all know that, right? We do all know this, yeah? So the communities that are going to survive best are the ones that know how to come together and listen to each other and work together. So this is also a survival skill that you are bringing back to your communities. And now here's the emotional story, okay? So one of the things, I did the world's first global citizens assembly, right? And one of the things about these assemblies is that people are chosen by sortition, right? So that's like a fancy, sophisticated lottery-style system, like jury service. So you go out, you send out randomized invites, and then certain amounts of people come back saying, yes, I'll come to your place, wherever it is, for 12 weekends in a row, and you'll get paid, and you'll get fed, and you'll just learn about an issue and discuss it, all this stuff. And then you end up with all the people who say yes, you end up getting using an algorithm. Look at me with my fancy technology. You use an algorithm to boil it down to an accurate snapshot of society. So it's usually based on ethnicity, economic background, educational background, gender, age, and location. You know, for example, with a global assembly, that's 100 people, 10% had no education at all, no formal education, 70% living on $10 or less a day, 13% white, 50% identifying as women, 18% Chinese. So it really was a snapshot of the human family, and it was moving. I mean, really moving. They came together for 68 hours over 11 weeks on Zoom with translators and facilitators and note takers. You know, and you're in a breakout room. Your chum, a forester from Thailand, who's had no formal education at all. He comes to Chiang Mai once a month for his stores, and someone comes up to him and says, would you be interested in this thing called Global Assembly? And the next thing that happens is he's in a breakout room. He's never seen a computer before. He's in a Zoom breakout room with a goat herder from Socotra in Yemen, right? And a 18-year-old student from Wuhan, an elderly seamstress from Brazil, and a yoga teacher from Italy. The human family came together, not their leaders or people put on a bloody podium, literally a snapshot of the human family. And here, I want to testify to you something beautiful. I was an observer, right? So luckily I had the camera switched off and the microphone switched off, and it was lucky because I cried like a baby. It would have been so embarrassing, because what I saw every time was that our default mode is love and compassion, a willingness to cooperate, and a desire for our children to live for generation after generation after generation. We are all in the same place. And what made me extremely emotional last week was I was watching one of these meetings, a recording of it again, and I went, God damn it, you know, weren't we so lucky? This was like a lottery, totally by random. We're so lucky to have such amazing examples of humanity in each group. And then I realized, no, it's not luck, this is who we are. And we've nearly forgotten, okay? So there's your emotion, ladies and gentlemen, delivered on a plate for your little hearts. All right, so we're going to learn these skills, okay? I have 3 exceptionally dishy helpers in 4 in yellow high-vis. Do you want to come out front and say hello? Just a little wave. So they are going to start giving you out these packs, all right? And there's lots of them, and they're really useful, and they're going to help you learn how to run these assemblies, okay? So you are welcome to start giving them out. Is that okay? And while they're doing that, I'm going to set the emotional, psychological mood, because what's important with these is that people recognize this is not one of those meetings where the loud, braying, middle-class man dominates at all. These meetings work when people feel they can be vulnerable, that no voices dominate, and we can speak our truth. So, what I would like to do, and it's quite a lot to ask, but if you do your assemblies in your communities, I would recommend you start with this, what I'm about to do. I call it testify. And I would like some people to volunteer to come up, and all I want you to do, you've got 1 minute. Come up here to the mic and tell us all what's getting under your skin. What's getting under your skin? Beryl, ladies and gentlemen, Beryl. Thanks so much. You've been the first.
So what's really getting under my skin is the lack of empowerment. Because if I don't agree with what's going on in this country, what can I do? The only thing I'm told to do is to vote. Who do I vote for? Because none of them I agree with what they're doing, except for parties that are not going to get voted in. And that's my problem, and that's what's getting under my skin at the moment. Yes, I can do things in my locality, I can organise in my locality, we can try and put pressure on, and then the council takes no notice of us whatsoever because we're just middle class yakkers, which is what we're classified as. And those things mean that I feel disempowered.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks, Beryl. Jenny? Thanks.
Hello. What's getting under my skin is the lack of coverage of this on the media. BBC, where are you? ITV, where are you? Had there been trouble here, we'd have been plastered all over the news. It's pathetic. We are all here committed, caring, wanting to do our bit, and are the media giving us any credence? No. It's immoral, it's disgusting. I have been on the BBC website and complained, and so have a lot of my friends, and you all need to do the same, because we need the people who aren't here to know, to listen to us. It's not good enough.
Thanks, Jenny. Okay, last person, just 1 minute, but thanks. So you get the idea, folks. What happens is, and very usually people go, I've never done anything like this before. If they say that, that's brilliant. I've had enough of the really cocky, confident people. It's when people start by saying, I've never done anything like this before. I'm so nervous. The hairs go up in your back of your head, and you know truth is going to come out here now. There you go.
I've never done anything like this before. But the narrative that we have and that we share and that we hear is that we haven't got power and there's nothing we can do to change anything and it's all completely out of our control. But that's just one narrative, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the most amazing thing is to see people here today who are changing the narrative and bringing hope back into the foreground again. And so what we need is more people of all ages joining together and believing in this new narrative in which we do have power and we can change things. I think that a lot of things that are making people feel more disempowered or have less energy, things like social media and phones and screens, and I'm using them just as much as anyone else. There's no judgment at all. But I think it's making people feel sort of numbed. And it's so inspiring to see action happening in the 80s, in which it was before this sort of time, when before phones, before screens, in which people, and maybe there was more reason to push back in different areas as well, but people were really just out there doing things more actively, and it's so inspiring, and it's making me want that to happen more and more now. And so it's really about changing the narrative and believing it together and telling everyone this message that we have way more power than we thought we did. Thank you.
What's your name? Billy! Billy! Okay, so this is what happens. If you do this in your community, please start like that. Or we'll start with someone who identifies as female. And you will find when people feel safe and they speak the truth, the whole of this community gets really, really tight really quickly. It's extraordinary. All right, so we need to get on, and you need to start learning and experimenting with these skills. I really advise you try and put a bit of effort into getting with people who you don't know, who you haven't come with, and try and get together something like a group of 6, if that's possible. A group of 6, okay? Isn't it? It's lovely. It's not raining now, but it's not easy to sit down in this wet floor. So our fantastic dishy yellow high-vis people, there's a couple of dishy pinkies, are giving out these cards for you. Now they will tell you how to run your little meeting, but what's important is to realise, so you're discussing a question, how might we act together to elevate the rights of nature in everything we do? It's on your card. That's what you're discussing. And the actual steps that you need to take are really clearly on these cards. What is magically modern is that this group you're with, you will be with online or on your phone or whatever. You can keep discussing until Tuesday evening, because what you come up with, you're going to put online an amazing website called pol.is, P-O-L-I-S. And this is how many communities around the world are beginning to self-organizing using pol.is. So you can start your conversation now with your group, but you can continue to communicate with each other and make sure one of you puts the main ideas on the pol.is site. You'll see it. You'll see it. And it's the pol.is site for Saturday. Isn't that right? Right. So the question you're looking at, the little blue cards, when you go on the pol.is site, you will put it on for Saturday, because yesterday we weren't able to run it. Everyone's still with me? Is this okay? Go for it. This is a survival skill. It's a way to bring your community together. And I've learned one thing. If I've ever learned one thing, people without agency, when they get agency, are the bomb. Every time. You watch out for that quiet, elderly gentleman who never says anything, and suddenly he gets listened to and he changes the whole world. He's amazing, okay? Thank you.